Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. It's that time of day and that time of week. Once again, very happy to be here. It's been a minute. I've been out for a couple of weeks getting things ready for Adobe Max, but I'm back and can't wait to stream live to you today for what we're going to do. So, for those of you who are new, welcome to Adobe Live. My name is Terry White, Worldwide Photography Evangelist here at Adobe. See a bunch of people in the chat already. Good people that are usually here on time. I love that. And just checking a few things, making sure the stream's going everywhere, and it looks like it is. So we will kick things off with just a couple of very quick, very short housekeeping things. And then from there, we will get into today's topic. So, like I said, first and foremost, I've been out for a couple of weeks just getting ready for Adobe Max. If you haven't signed up for Adobe Max yet, Adobe Max is free this year. It's just like it was last year. It's virtual, so it's free. And therefore, you can go and sign up for it at max.adobe.com and just join us live starting on the 26th for this great free event. Tons of classes, tons of training, tons of everything. So you can just get all this free goodness from the 26th, I believe, through the 28th. I think it's 3 days. And with that said, I will be there. I have a class on Photoshop, and I'll also be there for the keynote. So I can't wait to see you guys there. Also, if you are watching this on any of the various platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're watching this, LinkedIn, great that you're here. You can hang out wherever you want. But if you really want me to see your comments, if you want to participate in the chat, if you got questions, head over to b.net/Adobe Live, because that's the one chat window I'll be looking at. So I see sometimes on my YouTube, he's not paying attention to my comment. It's because I can't look at all the windows and teach at the same time. So if you really want me to see your question or comment while we're live, head over to b.net/Adobe Live. And if it can wait, you can always send it to me on social media. And I will try to respond as quickly as I can. And I know I don't always respond as quickly as I can, but I will try to respond as quickly as I can going forward. All right. Yeah, I know. Who doesn't like free, right, David? So David's here, Sam's here, Shayna's here, Murray, Chris, Larry, Mike. Welcome, everyone. Kyle Webster, good morning. Kyle's probably going to be doing a stream later today as well. That's it. Okay, a bunch of names I'm just repeating. So if you are new to this series on Fridays, Kyle just reminded me that we have the evangelists doing their master classes all day today. So Paul Tranny was up before me. Then we have the Daily Creative Challenge after me. Then Paul will be back for Photoshop. Then I believe it's Howard after Paul that will be doing UI, UX design. Then Jason Levine will be here this afternoon doing video and audio. And Kyle will be doing drawing and painting. So you have a full day of content every Friday that we're working on Fridays. Sometimes we have the day off. And I'll be here this week and next week, and then Max. So can't wait. All right. Today's topic. Today we're going to be taking a look at user-submitted photos. So these are photos that I always put the link up ahead of time, usually the Sunday or Monday before the stream. I let people upload their JPEGs and RAW files, all voluntary, of course. And you can see my take on how I would edit your photo. So this is not a rule. This is not, you have to do it my way. This is certainly not my way is the only way. Of course, it's all subjective. It's all opinion. It's just, these are the things I would do. You might do something totally different. It's a buffet. Pick and choose the pieces you like. Leave the stuff you don't like. And do it. If you have a better way to do it your way. Nothing wrong with that. And what I love is when someone says, well, why didn't you do it this way? Or I would do it this way. Then great, do it your way. So again, this is just how I would do it. If you got a better way, by all means, do it your way. All right, so with that said, let's dive in and take a look at today's submissions. I got portraits, I got landscapes, I got, as usual, all kinds of things here. Let me just get the window back up and let's switch over. All right, and let's get rid of that. Okay, cool. So I always take the folder of submissions, import them into Lightroom Classic, so that I can see them and arrange them, or not arrange them, but see them and just start the reviewing and editing process. Now, sometimes I do get like 10 photos from the same person, and that would be the only time I'd arrange, because I'm not going to get through all 10. I may pick one or two, move those up to the top, put the other ones below in case I do have time and get to them later. Never happens. But anyway, these are pretty much the random order, kind of the way they came in. And there may be one or two from the same person, but that's pretty much it. So how would I start with this, looking at this first photo? Now, I purposely left 2 photos from this person because one is way better than the other one. This is the photo that I honestly, for the person that submitted this, I would only edit this photo if it was the only one you had, because you got a better one. This is a much, much better photo. So, like, unless there's something significant about this particular photo, something I'm missing, I wouldn't, and again, unless it was the only one you had, which is not, I wouldn't even bother with this one. And the only reason I left this one in the group is because I wanted to show you that. I wanted to show you that you've got, the problem with this particular photo is that the person blocking the horse is, and I could lighten up the horse's eye and we could see more of it. But there's not really, that's not the moment. This is the moment. So that's the one that I would spend my time on editing. I would not spend my time on this one, and I'm not going to. So for that reason, I'm going to come in here and work on this one. All right, so let's get into the develop module first. Let's get out of full screen. Develop module. All right, so I'm in the develop module of Lightroom Classic, just like it would be the edit module in Lightroom if you're working on that version. And let's go to basic, and let's start to do the things I would normally do. Now, again, some people submit JPEG, some people submit RAW files. This is a JPEG, so I don't deal, so there, in other words, there's no RAW profiles here to start with. So again, no reason. But since this is a JPEG, I can do a few things. Like, for example, I always do an auto tone just to see what Lightroom is going to give me. So I click that first. And if I disagree with any of those sliders, then I would turn those sliders the way that I would want them to go. But this is pretty much, it did the right thing. It lightened up the photo a bit. Let's see what contrast, it added a little bit of contrast to it, which I would have done. And I might add a little bit of texture to this photo because the horse can take it. And it's not really a portrait of the girl, so it doesn't really matter for her. I like the backlight that's coming in here. I would normally crop this off, but because of this feeding pan, I believe this is what this is, I would leave it on here. And then we got some issues to deal with the stuff that's on the wall here, or whatever that is. So that needs to come off, and just we need to do a little cleanup here as well. So now the only other thing I might do while we're here in Lightroom, I see some shadow clipping, nothing important. I see some highlight clipping. Of course, it's going to be in the sun there, but it's also on her pants. So I would pull back the whites in this photo to kind of eliminate some of that clipping, or the highlights being blown out, I should say, in her pants. So I would just basically pull it to the point to where when I hover over this warning, there's no more red warning on her pants. If I pull it all the way up, oh, actually, it didn't need to pull it that far at all. So there's a little bit now, and this is what it used to look like, by the way, so you can see the difference. Maybe you didn't catch it. See all that red on her pants? Those are the areas that are completely blown out. Like there's no more pixel, there's no more data, there's pixels there. There's no more like contrast data there, it's just all white. So I pulled back the whites in this photo. Now normally I would pull it away until this white triangle disappeared, but it's never going to disappear because of the sun in the doorway. So I would just pull it back until I hover over it and I don't see any more red on her pants. Pull it back a little bit more. Okay, the red's pretty much gone. Little tweak there. All right, that's enough. Because like I said, you're not going to get rid of it in the doorway because it's just too bright. All right, so now that I've done that, I might still go up on the exposure just a hair. That's about it. And now I pretty much have done the things I want to do in Lightroom. I might look at the sharpening in this photo too while we're here. because JPEGs don't get sharpened automatically like RAW files do. So I might bump up the sharpening a bit. All right, that's pretty much it. So now that's what I would do from a Lightroom perspective, but there's some things I want to fix from a Photoshop perspective. So I would right click on this photo at this point, now that I've done all my non-destructive editing in Lightroom, and I would choose Edit in Photoshop. And because it is a JPEG, it will ask me this question. It'll say, hey, do you want to edit with a copy of the things you already did? Yes, I do. Do you want to edit just a copy without the adjustments? Why? I would never want to do that. Or do you want to edit the original? Nope, I would never want to do that. So when I say edit a copy, that makes a copy of the photo in Lightroom, takes it over to Photoshop, and lets me do whatever I want. So when people like always, oh, I got to duplicate the background layer first and start there, that way I'll have a safety net to go back to, I don't worry about that because I've already got that safety net back in Lightroom. But just for the sake of people that can't handle if you don't do that, there we go. I made my major background copy for you. All right, now let's go in and let's deal with the things that are bothering me the most, which is this stuff up here. All right, it's just a splatter of something. I'm not going to try and guess what that is, but this is what would be bothering me in this photo because it's going to make me look over there instead of looking at the moment, which is this. So it's either cropped to the moment, which that wouldn't be a bad photo, but if you want all of it, then this stuff has got to go. Now, there's a couple ways to get rid of this. We could clone it out. We could patch it out. We could paint it out by using a lighter color of the wall to paint in the darker areas. So I'll show you a few different methods. You pick the one that works best for you. So first thing I like to do is start with a patch. There we go. So just patching, things like that to try and get a clean area first. All right, now I got my cleaner area. Then I would start in sections here and start patching this. And again, you know, I made that selection too big because it's pulling over the horse's mane as well. So I might have to come over here for this first patch and then continue working. So you could, and I know it's not a clean patch because we're not done, but you can begin like that patch work. Oh, that's even worse. You could begin that patchwork. And if you're on an edge like this, you're going to get that kind of blurring unless you use Content Aware instead of normal. Content Aware will do a much better job on edges than normal does. There we go, like that. And so I would just keep patching until I got all of this cleaned up. And so it'll take a few passes to do that, but that's what I would do for this photo. So I got all of that wall area. Now, you're starting to get into a darker area of the wall, so the patch is going to be more noticeable. So at one point, I would switch back to normal so it starts to blend in more. But let's get rid of some of the bigger stuff first. All right, so now, so we don't see where we did it, then I would switch back to normal. And that way, when I do a patch like this, it's not so obvious. It kind of blends in as it goes back. So it just starts to naturally get darker. So that's, for those of you who are wondering what's the difference between normal and content aware. Content aware is going to be more of an exact patch. Normal is going to be more of a blended patch. So because you're blending edges, that's why the edges blur when it's on normal versus content aware. It does not blend, it does not blur. Nearly as, or if at all, nearly as much. So now you might, at this point, like the patch tool might be kind of like hard to work with within the mange here. So you might go in and start doing cloning at this point. So hit the letter S, go to my clone stamp tool, make sure it's set up on normal like it always is. Hold down my Option or Alt key, get close, and just start cloning around some of this area here. So you kind of just naturally get rid of those spots. Same thing here. Just naturally getting rid of some of that stuff. And now, again, you would go in tighter and work better, but I just gave you your, like, that's what I would do to get rid of that. You could also, here's just another technique so you have it. One of the techniques I do either with the clone stamp tool or with the paintbrush is setting the brush blend mode to lighter. because what you really want is you want the lighter color in the darker areas. So for example, if I go back to the clone stamp tool, you notice that it has a blend mode, and I could choose lighten as the blend mode. So now what that means is that if I pick a sample, and by the way, I might not go 100% lighter, I might drop the opacity down to maybe 40, 50%. So that way it looks more blended, more natural, as opposed to it's just an exact copy of those pixels. So see here, those pixels keep getting lighter, lighter, lighter as I brush at 40% at a time, as opposed to, or 50%, whatever I'm at, as opposed to 100%, just to kind of lighten that area up. Same thing here. So that gives you a more natural look to your clone as opposed to an exact clone after the fact. All right, so now we got that there, and this is your before and after. Boom, big difference. Boom, big difference. So, yeah, and you know, you don't have to stop there. If you feel that, you know, this stuff over here is starting to become a distraction now that you cleaned up that wall so well, I'd start cleaning up this wall as well. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're just trying to reduce the attention that someone might spend looking at that area of the wall. Okay, so now that we got that cleaned up, I don't have to worry about my eye being drawn in that corner anymore. Now I can focus in on what's going on over here. So because this is a JPEG, there's like some noise and artifacts in here because this was apparently a darker scene when you photographed it. She's facing away from the light, that kind of stuff. So there's, you know, you can do a little bit here, but not, you can do some noise reduction back in Lightroom, but not a ton. So now I might go in and I might start to just, you know, fix a few little things that I see standing out on the horse or the person. Just little specks, little things. That grass is fine. Just little things like this. And then I might go in, since the eyes are important, even the horse's eye, I might go in with the dodge tool and just kind of brighten this area up a bit. And I might brighten this area up a little bit. But again, there's only so much I can do with the pixels because the grain will start to show more. All right. And yeah, that's about it. So I might crop it down just a hair as well, but I can do that back in Lightroom. Just trying to make sure there's nothing else I need to be in Photoshop for. All right, so those are the things that jumped out at me right off the bat. You can spend hours doing more, but those are the things I would take care of right off the bat. And I'm saving behind me. You can't see the progress bar. There we go. Close it, and when I come back to Photoshop, or I'm sorry, when I come back to Lightroom from Photoshop, this is what you see. You always have the original JPEG you started with, or the original RAW file you started with, and then of course you have the one you edited. Now the one I edited is up for fair game to do more to, so I can crop it down a bit, like I said. I don't need to see this much of the horse from the back, so maybe something like that. Just to kind of eliminate some of the stuff that isn't necessary. Now, again, I said I wouldn't crop the dish, but maybe I would now. So again, just where does my attention need to be? And it really should be in this area. Now, the last trick I might do from a lighting perspective is because, again, I don't like the fact that the back of the horse here, the stomach, is lighter than the rest of the photo. So either A, continue to crop in a bit more, or B, expose them a bit more. So one of the things I might do is I might grab my radial filter, come in here and just grab a radial filter right from the middle in, and kind of like put a little spotlight on them using exposure. Oh, let's do the invert. There we go. Invert the spotlight, do a little exposure on them, not too much, obviously, just a hair brighter, just to kind of put that emphasis on the moment. And like I said, that bright part is bothering me a bit more than I thought it would. So I might come in something like that. But again, that's me. You might want to keep more of the horse. That's totally understandable. But to me, this is the moment in your photo. All right. Yes, you now know how to get rid of poop on a wall. There you go. All right, moving on. So again, if you look at the photos now, we're going to just quickly, like, that's not the moment. That's the moment. That's the one you would print. That's the one you would share. It's just because you don't really see her face. You just see a horse. All right, so let's go ahead and move on now to this one. We got a portrait here. Looks like wedding day. So I got a couple of these. I kept both of them because, like, there's a couple quick things I would do here. I noticed that both feel crooked. They may not be, but the other one, the buildings are leaning, so it is crooked. This one may not be. They just may be on a hill, and the trees kind of look straight up and down, so that's okay. But just first glance, it looks crooked. It's not, but it does. All right, so let's talk about, again, what the subject is. The subject is them. I like how they're not centered in the frame. Great job on the composition. The sky is not amazing, but again, the attention should be on them, not an amazing sky. So I would be tempted to go into Photoshop and do a sky replacement, and then it just dawned on me, yeah, making the sky better so you look at the sky is not really the goal here. The goal is they should be the focus. So it's okay that the sky is not amazing because it's not a landscape photo, it's a portrait. So again, let's go back into the develop module. I'll go to basic. This is raw, so I can set a raw profile. I can set it to portrait mode or portrait. I can go in and choose auto, and auto really brightens up the grass. It really does a lot of nice things for the background, but it made them look not as good. So, and that's okay. It kind of balanced the image was probably a bit overexposed. So it brought the exposure down like almost a full stop. And again, that was the right thing to do for the rest of the photo, but not the right thing to do for them. So I don't mind that. I'm going to keep it where it is. But now I'm just going to maybe spend more time cranking up the shadow areas because that is where they live. They're like kind of in the shadows because the background's so bright. And then I might do that same trick that I did before where I, put like a little bit of spotlight on them using exposure and invert. There we go. Oh, too much. Whoa. Not a flashlight. Just add a little bit of light. See again, that's nothing. That's no light. And just adding that little bit makes all the difference in the world. There we go. Something like that. And again, you can move it around. You can see what it looks like without it. You can see what it looks like with it. And I would probably do something more like that, just to put the emphasis on them. All right. Will I do anything else? Like, I don't really see a huge need to go to Photoshop. The image looks good. The image is clean. There's not like a lot of stuff I need to remove from the background. So this could very much be just a Lightroom only adjustment. Let's go to lens correction. Let's see what the lens correction. Oh, there was an opportunity for lens correction. See the curvature that it took out of the photo. So, and because it recognized from the raw file what this was shot with, the Canon image or Canon camera it was shot with and lens, it took that bowing out of the image. So I would definitely do that. Detail, let's go into sharpening. So, because there are people, if I crank up the sharpening like that, like it got, super sharp all the way through the photo, you end up with this. So that's too much sharpening. Let's undo it. That's the right amount. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to sharpen her skin at all. I don't want no one cares about his skin. I don't want to sharpen her skin at all. So one of the things that with the biggest trick in Lightroom Classic is or Lightroom period is that you can use masking so that Lightroom knows what people are and it only affects everything except the skin. So let me zoom out a bit. And let me zoom in to just where you see their faces. And let me show you what I mean by that. So if I hold down, if I slide masking back and forth, you can zoom in and see what it did and what it didn't do. But the best way to do this so you know which amount to use is to hold down the Option key or Alt key and drag until everything, the skin is dark and everything else is light. So all the other things are light, the skin is dark, and what that will do is everything that was dark will not be sharpened. Everything that was light will be sharpened. So that way you end up with and here I'll zoom in on her again so we can see it. You end up with skin that doesn't get overly sharpened. And here, let me pull back the masking so you can see the difference. Oh, I'm not going to hold down the Option key this time. That's unmasked, and that's masked. So now I can go to town on sharpening. Like, so I can crank it all the way back up. Nothing happened to her skin. But everything else got overly sharpened. But everything else got sharpened, and her skin did not. So that's just using masking when you don't want to over sharpen someone's face. And that way you keep the skin nice and soft, and you get everything else nice and sharp. All right, from a color perspective, this looked good. So the other thing I might check is the white balance. So you have, because this was in RAW, I get to pick my own white balance. So this is daylight, so I might use daylight, but daylight's a little too warm for this photo. Like, they got a little too yellow. So I might pull back on the temperature just a bit. But I like the warmer skin, but not too warm. I don't want them to look yellow. So just pull back the temperature a bit. And that way I get a custom white balance. Okay. Now, if that background's important, keep it. The other opportunity, of course, would be to have a version where it's cropped. So because you're in Lightroom Classic, you get that option to create a virtual copy. So let's go to Photo, Create Virtual Copy. So that just creates a copy of what you just did. And then you have that extra copy, and of course not taking up any space in on the hard drive. You have that ability to say, for example, oh, this would make a nice 5:7, and we can crop in, and we can crop in some more. And there we go. You end up with a nice kind of portrait like, oh, don't want to cut their hands off. Don't want to amputee, don't want to cut fingers off. There we go. Something like that. So that way you have both versions. You have the full extended version that you can use, and then you have the one that is a little tighter cropped. I like tighter crops for people, and away you go. All right, so that way you have both. Now, back to this one. Always learning something. Thanks, Michael. Okay, it's just really obsessive. The photo works. I learned that always sharp in 100%. No, sharp at 100% can definitely be too much, depending on the photo, depending on the resolution of the photo too. All right, so let's go into this one. This is what I meant by the building was crooked. So like, I know this image is crooked, so these buildings aren't leaning like that. So that's my dead giveaway. And then the next thing you would have to ask yourself is, are these buildings important? Like ridges, is that significant? I don't know the story. So I'm only coming in after the fact saying, maybe that's where they spent their honeymoon. Maybe that's where they work. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. So I would question whether or not that's important, but it is crooked. So let's start with that. Let's go to transformations. Let's do an auto upright. There we go. Now it's not crooked anymore. I didn't have to do it manually. Auto took care of it. Great. Now I can go back to basic and get started. So same thing. It's a portrait. Let's do an auto tone. Auto tone really, again, brings back all the color of the background. I might pump up the shadows a bit more just to bring them out a little bit more. And then again, unless that is important to you, like unless that building is important or this background's important, the background is the distraction, because everyone's going to say, what's ridges? So I'm teaching just a standard. We get caught up in things that aren't important and don't pay attention to the things that are important. So with virtual copies, can they be included in a collection for the client to see both versions? Absolutely. Virtual copies in Lightroom Classic, for all intents and purposes, act like regular photos, even though they don't take up any extra space. So you can have 50 virtual copies in an album, share them to the client, and they would see all 50 versions of your photo. All right, so for example, I don't know the story, so I am going to make a virtual copy. And now that I got the virtual copy, I'm going to go into that virtual copy and crop. All right, because that is just serving as a, what is that building? What's that? Why is that building there? Is that building something that we should know? And if it is, keep it. And if it isn't, you might want that version. So same kind of thing. add a little spotlight to them, invert it, and exposure. Oh, too much. Just a touch of light. There we go. And of course, then I start to see other little things like this, whatever this is on the ground. Click. Gone. I don't know what that is behind her shoe, but now it's gone. Too big. Hang on. So that's what happens when you you're lazy and you're not using a smaller brush like you should. There we go. And then I see this little thing peeking into the frame. So like, I don't know what that is. So it's just going to make people say, what's that? And we don't want people saying, what's that? We want people looking at them. All right. Cool. Again, there's not a ton that I would go into Photoshop to do on this. So I would just end up with my Lightroom correction. Oh, look at images in 100% when you're sharpening. Yes, I agree. So that was, so he wasn't saying sharpen to 100%. He was saying zoom in to 100%. So when you sharpen, that's what you're seeing. And I would agree with that. All right, so next up, here's just a sunset, sunrise, sunset. Looks like, ooh, it's over a snow mountain. It's over a mountain. I didn't notice that at first. So it's a raw file. So let's go into profile. Let's make it landscape. See how the colors change just that quickly? That's Adobe Color. Everything's kind of flat with Adobe Color on purpose. But then when I go to Adobe Landscape the colors automatically start popping right off the bat. Just a little bit, not a ton. And the thing about these profiles, once again, I'll just remind people, is that when you're choosing a raw profile to start with, you're not affecting any sliders you did. So whether you did the profile in the beginning or you forgot to do it in the beginning and you came back and did it after the fact, it would not adjust your other adjustments that you did. So I do see a couple comments over here on Facebook. Andy, yes, it will be on YouTube and recorded, and it's there now, and it will be there when we're done. And okay, good morning, good morning. All right, anyway, moving on. So, all right, cool. Now we did that, and of course, like I said, I was doing auto, and auto is going to either make it better or worse. And because this is a raw file, and I see some vignetting, I think this is in the upper left and right corner. See those dark spots in the upper left and right corners? That's lens vignetting usually. So if I go to lens corrections and turn on the lens correction, look at how much lighter that got. It didn't remove it completely, but it did get lighter. So I might go in, because it is, so you could always crop it, obviously, but the other thing you might do, so if you want to keep the whole frame, is you might go into, not that, I'm going to go into effects, and I might just pull back a little, but not a ton. No, it's not gonna give me enough of that. undo. Not gonna give me enough of that to pull that out of there. So you can either crop it to get rid of it. You can always take it into Photoshop and clone it out or patch it out. Or you could embrace it and say, give me more vignetting. Like, so in other words, let me put more emphasis on the center of the photo. So your choice. Because if you leave it just a little, it looks like a mistake. So that's why I'm struggling with this. It's a beautiful scene. I don't want to crop it any more than I have to. So I'd probably take it into Photoshop and get rid of it. That's because, again, this is what I would do. So anyway, before we head over to Photoshop and get rid of it, let's finish up here. So the auto tone did some cool things. I'm not totally happy with where it left things. So I'm going to bring up the shadows a bit more. I'm definitely going to bring up the contrast a bit more. I'm going to, because it is, oh, wait, whoa. Something's making that way more. I didn't see what did this, like bringing this green over here. Oh, maybe that's just in the scene. Here, let's do that's before. Oh, it was already there. Okay, that's before, that's after. It just got more enhanced. All right. I thought I did something to add some green into the photo. I'm like, wait a minute, that's a little too much green there. But that is in the photo already. All right. Yeah. Okay, so like the reason I'm hesitating is because the sky is perfect. I'm not the sky is not the problem. I'm not happy with the foreground. Just from a like it looks kind of purplish in here, and it shouldn't. So that's what's bugging me right now. So I might go in and I could use an adjustment brush. I can use a graduated filter. Let me try an adjustment brush. And with an adjustment brush, let me change my preset to... Let me change my preset. Oh, you know what I didn't do yet? Hang on. Before we do this, this might take care of it. Hang on. We didn't add any dehaze yet. And that's not going to do it. Okay, never mind. All right, so let me go to my adjustment brush and let's go in and add just reduce the saturation a bit because it's really a color thing. And let's go ahead and just start brushing this. So and let me make sure my auto mask is turned on. Good. All right, now that I got this mountainous area painted, and by the way, I can show the overlay to see where I missed, like there. Now, of course, you'd zoom in, do a better job, all that. I'm just trying to get to a point here of seeing what's bothering me about that area of the scene. So if I bring down the saturation, just kind of get some of that color out of it. And I know the color is a reflection of what's going on in the sky, but it's not helping me. Like it looks like a mistake to me more than it looks like what it really is. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just what's bothering me about it. All right, cool. Now I can go into clarity. Oh yeah, see, pump up the clarity in those mountains. Now we're talking. That's what I want. Texture, yeah, baby. And now I can bring down the exposure a bit more because it's about the sky more than it is about anything else. And there we go. So that's the adjustment I wanted. That's before. This is where we started. And that's after. This is where we're at now, and I'm feeling really good about where we are now. All right, so the only thing bugging me left is those corners. So again, Command E on Mac, Control E on Windows, or right click to edit in Photoshop. And again, just that and this are bugging me. That's the only thing. I know what it is. I know why it's there. That doesn't mean I have to like it. And just do a content aware fill, and away we go. Save, close, head back. So here's where we are. All right, let's make another virtual copy just so you learn another trick. Virtual copy on this one, head to this virtual copy, and we're going to go back to the history in this photo. Oh, actually, it wouldn't have any, you're right. Reset the virtual copy, there we go. So the virtual copy's been, or should have been reset. Yeah, that's the virtual copy reset. So this is where we started. This is where Lightroom gave us, and this was the finishing touch in Photoshop. And if the sky is bothering you because you now know that that's disconnected because I didn't select all of it, then select more of it so it fills it in. But where we started, where Lightroom got us, and where Photoshop finished it. All right, cool. Next, okay. All right, Jan just gave us a thing he tested, and okay. All right, so next up, we have a looks like you're in Japan, maybe? And you got a cruise ship, and you got this boat over here, this dinghy, and you got a lot of issues here. So first and foremost, let me see what I'm working with. This is a JPEG, okay? And let's go in and let's start with, so many things, I don't know where I want to start. So first and foremost, I can't tell, the horizon may look a little crooked. In case you haven't noticed, I'm super sensitive to crooked photos. So let's grab the angle tool and just check it. It may be perfectly fine. but it looks slightly off to me. Yep, it's fine. It just looked like that. Okay, back to develop. Let's do an auto. That helps. Dun, 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 dun. So a few things bothering me. The sky, it looks like it's just simply overexposed. So maybe a little dehaze might help for that. There, that's better. So again, just quickly, that's where we were. Super overexposed, blown out photo. And that's where we are now. So now the thing here is that this is so dark, you don't really even see the tires on this. You don't see the detail in it. So you might want to bring up the shadows a bit more. You can now start to see the color, but then you bring up the shadows there, you bring up the shadows everywhere. So that's why we have local adjustments. So I might go in and set this to shadows. The presets, all they do is just zero out everything else and give you a little bit of what you asked for. So I asked for shadows, and now I can come over here and paint the side of the boat. And I'm haphazardly painting. You would take your time and zoom in and do a really good job painting and masking. So again, I can see my overlay. All right, now that I did that, and I'm not doing the top part. It doesn't really need it. I'm just going to go in now and just bump the shadows here. Just to, yeah, see how you're just bringing out that one thing as opposed to the whole rest of the photo? You're making that one thing stand out. All right, cool. Now, this is just a personal thing. This is not a, you have to do this on your photos, but this is a personal thing with me, is I hate water that isn't blue. I just do. It's just a personal thing with me. That is the natural color of this water. It's polluted. This is what water that looks polluted looks like. But I like, I was, always read about the deep blue sea, and this is not deep blue. So what I might do, just because it's me, is I might go into my adjustment brush and do a new one. So you can have multiple adjustments with the same tool. I just click new. I might take my brush size way up, and I might start masking all of this. Now it's on shadow, so that's what it's doing to all of this. But let's see what the brush looks like here. There we go. And let's make the brush a little smaller. And come in here and do this all as well. Just make sure we get all of this. And with what I'm about to do, you'll know when you missed spots, so you can always go back and fill them in. And you'd go into windows and get all those little window areas too. I'm just not going to take the time doing that. But anyway, now that I got that all done, shadows is not what I want. What I want, let's turn off the overlay, is temperature. Just bring down the temperature of that water. Here we go. Just again, I hate it gray, I hate it green, just give me a little blue. And so, it's not real. It's not real. It may not even be looking realistic, but it is what I like. So this is what I would do. And if it's too blue, you can always pull back. You can always say just a little bluer, or you can say go really blue. It's up to you. And it's just affecting that one area. All right. That, if you're going to use this scene, that would make me happy about this scene. Now, I might also do another adjustment on the sky. It's still a little bit overexposed, but, it is a middle of the day kind of shot with bad light, so that is what you're going to get. So this is, I think, from the same person. Mix in or rinse and repeat. And so if I go previous, it'll bring over those previous things I just did. So I hit previous, it brought over all those adjustments I just did, and I can then go in and undo or do more to the things I did. So for example, this one could use more exposure. This one could use a little more dehaze. Obviously, it didn't paint the exact same area, so I could go in and finish painting that with the adjustment brush. But that is what previous got me, just like that. All right, moving on. So we got a portrait here. This kid, I don't know who he is, but he always likes to submit things to these. I think he just likes seeing himself on my show. But anyway, let's go into develop. And let's go here. It is a raw, it's a JPEG. Let's do an auto auto tone, and again, does the right thing to the background, but it makes my foreground too dark. So at that point, I might just bring up the shadows just a bit there. Actually, that looks pretty good the way it is. Now, your portrait is fine. The only thing, let's turn down this vibrance and saturation. The sky's looking a little overcooked. Your portrait's fine. The only thing that's starting to bother me is like that looks like a bridge behind you, and that's the bridge. But like this thing, this tower, whatever this is, do you need it? If it's not important to the story, I might get rid of that. You got some stuff on the ground around you, so I would maybe start to take some of that stuff out of it. But you just got a busy background. And with any time you have a busy background, it's just going to make people start looking at the background and asking, what's that? What's this? I wonder what those power lines are for. Like you don't want people distracted by everything that's going on in the background. So that would be my take away from this. Now, the way we do it in photography, if this was probably shot on a phone, because I see your arm, looks like you're doing a selfie. In photography with a lens, we would, just blur this stuff out with shallow depth of field. So I might go into Photoshop, Command E, open a copy of this in Photoshop. And I might go into a filter like our neural filters. And I might go into depth blur. And it will calculate that depth blur. I see it in the upper right hand corner. And yeah, so I might do something like that to where then the emphasis is on you, not the stuff in the background. And you can, if this too strong, you can bring it down. And it outputs it to a new layer anyway, so you can always tweak it and get it the way you want. If it's not strong enough, you can always crank it back up. So let me take it almost all the way up and see what it does. Yeah, like that becomes, because then no one's going to spend time looking at the blurry areas. They're going to look at you, and that's what we want. So I actually even like it super strong like that. So let's click OK. And again, it outputs that as a new layer. So this is our before, where everyone's going to be looking at all that stuff around you. And this is our after. And this is the stuff that, that we want people to look at you, not all that other stuff. So save that. It's saving with the layer. Head back to Lightroom Classic. And this is our before. And that's our after. There you go, dude. All right. We got like 1 minute left. Maybe we get a landscape in here in that 1 minute. Oh, this is beautiful. Beautiful shot. So landscape, gave me the raw file. Great. Auto tone. Awesome. Just awesome. Great shot. Like I just want to say done, closed, done. Dehaze, maybe a little bit of dehaze. Oh, yeah, even got better. Yep, like it's not like you could just spend all day playing with this one because it's just a great shot. So that's before, that's after, just quickly, easily. So the background looks pretty unique. I would bet he want to keep that in, but blurry is so mucho better. So again, that's why I'm saying these are what I would do because I don't know the story. I don't know if that background is important or not. If it is important, keep it. If it's not, then yeah, I would I would say that it's just going to make people question what the background is. And that's not what we want people spending time on in our photos. We want people spending time looking at the subject, not the background. All right, and then I might just bump up the exposure just a bit overall. But you got a great shot here. All right, so that's full screen, and that's before, and that's after. Just a couple quick, easy adjustments. And the only other thing that's bothering me now is this one little thing, leaf twig sticking up in the background there. So I might go in and just get rid of that. Because there wasn't enough of it to keep it. And even this one, I would question whether or not we need. Like, do we need it? If we don't need it, then use the healing brush in Lightroom to get rid of it. But that's just nitpicking. Like, your photo's great. That's it. It's great. All right. With that, I am out of time, everybody. I hope that you got something out of this. I hope that you learned. And I'll be back next week. I think we're going to do a Adobe Stock workflow, how to shoot, edit, and submit to Adobe Stock to sell your work, especially while you're in these times of a pandemic where you might not be shooting as much as you normally would. Always nice to have some money making itself in the background while you sleep. So cheers, everyone. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the submissions. Great job on submissions. I ran out of time. There are more photos. We'll just save them for next time. Cheers, everybody. Later. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. We're not out of time. We're not out of time. Wait, don't go. We're not out of time yet. I just realized my clock says I have 3 minutes left. I'm thinking, never mind. All right, so I'm not sure why I thought we were out of time, but we're not out of time. Let's keep going for these last couple minutes here. Let's get to another photo. All right, I was going to shortchange you. So let's go to our next one. We got like 3 minutes left. So let's quickly get to a couple more. All right, first and foremost, let's get to this guy submitted before. I remember his train, I remember him. And this is like worst case scenario. This is like wrong time of day, light coming in, blowing out everything else. Not a lot I can do with this, but let's see what we can do. So JPEG, so let's go ahead and just do an auto. And again, not a ton we can do. This is where we really want to try Dehaze, because Dehaze is designed for this kind of stuff. It's designed to bring back in more detail into your scene. But the problem with Dehaze in this one is that if I go as far as I need to, it starts to destroy the rest of the photo. So we're basically going to just live with him in the sun, but we don't have to live with him in the sun as much around him. So what we can do is use our adjustment brush. Is the train moving? Run, dude. No, I think he's the conductor. Anyway, so if the train's moving and he's outside the train, then we have a bigger problem. But anyway, let's go in and let's use our adjustment brush, and let's set the adjustment brush to Dehaze. And with the adjustment brush on Dehaze, we can go in and just, oh, see, I wasn't careful. Let's zoom in. Wasn't really careful with where I was painting. There we go. We can start to dehaze our subject without destroying the rest of the photo. And I'll just give you this hint. This is going to get a lot easier after Max. I can't tell you why. I can't show you why, I should say. But after Max, this is going to get a lot easier. All right. Okay, so now I got him all painted in. Then I can add a lot more dehaze to make him stand out without destroying the rest of the photo. So this is like give me dehaze as much as I can for everything, and then let me zoom in and get some dehaze for just my subject. And again, it's just like, I'm not sure if that was an effect. Excuse me. I'm not sure if that was an effect you're trying to create by having this overpowering light come in from your side and you look like you're angelic by just having all this sun behind you. But it was so overpowering that we couldn't see you as much as we should anymore. So now that we got that, we can also maybe bump up the contrast. Again, we're doing this just on the brushed area. And we can add a little texture to them as well. And a little clarity. Yeah, so this is our before. See how much he's blown out completely? And this is our after. All right. Okay. Again, not a ton I could do to that. That was pretty much it. All right, so now we are out of time. But I was going to head to this one. Oh, this looks like a really small one. But great photo. Maybe we'll start with this one next time. All right, so now you got a bonus one. Sorry, it wasn't a bonus. I was jumping the gun on my timing because I don't want to go over. But with that said, cheers, everyone. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the submissions. Great. Great job on what you sent me. It was fun working with your photos, and those are just a few things that I would do. But of course, the final decision is up to you on your photos. So with that said, we'll catch you on the next one. Stay tuned for the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. Bye, everybody.